Hello students, welcome you all once again to the course Econometric Methods today. Today we are going to see the module 2, the methodology of econometric research. Econometrics is a science and art of using economic theory and statistical techniques to analyze economic data. Econometrics is concerned with the application of mathematical statistics and tools of statistical inference to empirical measurement of relationship postulated by economic theory. Let us see the various steps in the process of econometric model building with an example from the Keynesian simple consumption model. Econometric methodology has got 4 steps. Stage A is the specification of the model or formulation of maintained hypothesis. In the stage B, we will test the maintained hypothesis. In stage C, we will evaluate the estimates for its sufficiency and reliability. In stage D, we will apply the econometric model for various purposes. In this, stage A and stage C are important for any econometric research. They require the skills of an economist with experience of the functioning of the economic system. Stage B and D are technical and require knowledge of theoretical econometrics. Now let us explain the stage A. The specification of econometric model is based on economic theory and on any available information relating to the phenomena being studied. The specification of the model requires familiarity with the phenomena being studied and the theoretical relationships or knowledge of economic theory. Not only the general law relevant to the phenomena being studied, but also all the information relevant to the characteristics of those relationships. Let us take the example of Keynesian consumption theory. Let us see the statement of the Keynesian psychological law of consumption. On average, disposed to increase their consumption as income increases, but not as much as the increase in their income. In this maintained hypothesis, variables or the models are identified. From the theory or maintained hypothesis, the econometricians will be able to make a list of variables in the hypothesis. The main study variable is taken as the dependent variable or regressant. Any variable that affect or influence the dependent variable is taken as the independent variable or regressor. Now let us identify variables from the maintained hypothesis of Keynes. In the above example, we can clearly say consumption is the study variable and the income is the influencing variable, and so we will take consumption as dependent variable and income as the independent variable. After the identification of the variables, we have to specify the model. In this, we have to specify the mathematical form of it. Mostly, economic theory or maintained hypothesis indicate the nature of relationship among the regressor or regressant. In case of vagueness in this respect, econometricians may experiment with various forms, namely linear or non-linear forms, and choose from among them the most satisfactory form on the basis of a priori criteria. The model specification is the most important and difficult stage in econometric analysis. The lapses or error committed is generally called specification error. The major specification errors commonly occur in an econometric model is non-inclusion or omission of relevant variables, inclusion of irrelevant variables, proposing nonlinear relationship as in the case of linear models, proposing linear relationships as nonlinear mathematical forms. Finally, incorrect error specification is also a major specification problem. But in our case, the theory proposes the proportionate relationship between the regressor and regressant, namely income and consumption. So, we may specify the regression model as UI accounts for omitted variables in the economic model, wrong functional form and random behavior of economic agents. After the specification of the model, we will include the conditions on the signs and magnitude of the coefficients. The theory related to applied research work would indicate the possible special features of the phenomena being studied. It may also suggest the sign of the parameters and possibly their size. In the present Keynesian model, the beta 2 has to be a positive number and it must be between 0 and 1 by the consumption law. Beta 2 is otherwise in theory called marginal propensity to consume. After the stage A, we are moving to the stage B. In the stage B, we are estimating the regression model. After the model is specified, econometricians proceed to estimate the model and obtain numerical estimates for the coefficients. This is a technical stage. This stage requires the knowledge of the various econometric methods, their assumptions and their implications for the estimates of the parameters. This stage includes the following: first, gathering of the data, and it also includes the selection of econometric techniques for the estimation. In the gathering of data on the variables included in the model, data is obtained through the choice of appropriate data source or collection of data relating to consumption and income. Data may be collected as a time series or cross-sectional or panel data. This stage assumes significance when variables in economic models are inherently unmeasurable or badly measured. Then comes the choice of appropriate econometric techniques. The commonly available econometric techniques are ordinary least squares method, maximum likelihood estimation method, generalized method of moments and other mixed methods. The choice of technique depends on the nature of relationships in the model, that may be linear or nonlinear. Purpose of the model: in forecasting models, it gives importance to unbiasedness and minimum variance. In policy research model, the unbiasedness is given more weightage. In the choice of econometric techniques, we will consider the purpose also. Certain methods, certain techniques are more prone to certain problems than the other. In the case of in the forecasting models, we will give more weightage to the minimum variance criteria, and accordingly we will choose the technique that will yield the minimum variance. Apart from that, there are some data specific problems. Accordingly, we will select the technique. For example, in time series, we will have lot of serial correlations, and so we will select the technique that can take care of this problem. In the spatial models, we will have spatial autocorrelations, so we will have to make the choice accordingly. Examining the assumptions relating to the econometric technique. The selection of estimation techniques are based on the purpose of the models also, because certain techniques are very prone to biasness and certain techniques may have more variance in their estimates. In such cases, for the forecasting models, we may have the liberty to choose the model with minimum variance, not giving importance to the unbiasedness. But in the policy research models, the unbiasedness is given more weightage, and so the techniques have to be chosen accordingly. Some methods may be computationally less demanding, so according to the computational skills and the resources exist, we may choose the models. And also the data limitations would also pose restrictions on the choice of the techniques we choose. The last thing about the estimation is the characteristics of the random error term. In this case, if we choose the OLS technique, the next important issue is the assumptions about the random error of the regression model. For instance, if we choose the OLS regression models, the errors are assumed to have 0 mean, no serial correlation, or it has homoscedastic errors. So, the models are selected, then we will have the data at hand. Both of them together are used to estimate the regression model, and we will have the numerical values for the regression model. Now we come to the stage C. In the stage C, the estimated regression coefficients are evaluated. So, after the estimation of the model, the econometricians proceed to the evaluation of the results of the model. The evaluation now aims to assess the model based on 3 criteria. The first criteria is economic criteria, we may call it theoretical criteria. Second one is the statistical criteria. Third one is the econometric criteria. In the economic criteria, the coefficients of the models are evaluated for their sign and magnitude in conformity with theory. If the estimates sign and the magnitude is not conforming to economic theory, the model should be rejected unless there is a valid evidence to accept them. However, in most cases, the reasons for the wrong sign may be due to data deficiencies. In such cases, the data has to be corrected for the deficiency. In general, if the theoretical criteria are most satisfied, the model is considered satisfactory. Estimation of the model would yield the values, numerical values for beta 1 and beta 2. In this simple Keynesian model, we have taken the coefficient value of beta 1 is found to be minus 184.08 and the value for beta 2 is estimated as 0.7064. So, the estimated econometric model may be written as y hat is equal to minus 184.08 plus 0.7064 x. The estimated coefficients beta 2 is positive and significant. The data confirms the theoretical prediction. Therefore, the theoretical formulation may be accepted. The second statistical criteria. The second is the statistical criteria. In this stage, the statistical accuracy of the estimates and fit to the model is evaluated. The square of the correlation measure is taken as the goodness of fit measure. Further, F and T statistic values would lend the reliability measure for the model. For instance, if the model statistically adequate, then the F test will be significant. If the model is best fit, the R square will be high. In this case, F 1,8 is equal to 202.87. The p value is 0.001 and so indicates this model is significantly different from intercept only model. R square is calculated to have the value 0.96, which indicates the model fits well with the data. Similarly, to validate the individual coefficient, t tests are used. In this model, t value for beta 1 is equal to 3.979 and t value for beta 2 is 23.51 and both of them are significant. Lastly, the econometric criteria. The evaluation or the basic assumptions of the econometric techniques is done at this stage. This evaluation would include tests for autocorrelation and tests for heteroscedasticity. When the econometric criteria are satisfied, the model would be evaluated based on this criteria. When the assumption on econometric techniques is violated, in this case, if there is any autocorrelation problem or the heteroscedasticity problem, then we have to take effort to check and correct those issues in the model. Then the model is estimated and evaluated on the basis of the above. After the rectification of the problem relating to the econometric assumptions, we have to re-estimate the model and evaluate the model again Therefore, the last stage, the stage D, is the application of econometric model. In this case, we can use this model for testing the theory, for predictions and forecasting, and policy analysis. Now, let us summarize what we had studied so far. We said the econometric methodology has 4 stages. The first stage is the specification of the model or formulation of maintained hypothesis. Stage B, or the second stage, is the testing of the maintained hypothesis. The third stage, or stage C, is the evaluation of the estimates for its sufficiency and reliability. The last stage is the application of econometric model. Thank you.